Hello everyone, we are Team 3. The object of our study is Wodonga, a city that suffered recent floods, which is located in Victoria, Australia. This secondary research will introduce what are the theoretical frameworks and methodologies used to develop solutions where flood disasters happen. While I found two related frameworks, there are SDES framework for disaster risk reduction and Northern Territory Emergency Service. The goal of these two frameworks are to reduce the loss of life, property, and culture in the event of disaster through economic, legal, and social means. This framework provides ideas and methods for people to solve emergency design. Then I find the best precedents in industrial design work. The first design focuses on the elimination of risk involved while commuting and carrying necessary objects to a safe place, while leaving the comfort of the immediate shelter when the flood comes. And the second work is expected to serve as a self-rescue tool for the trapped people before the arrival of the rescue team.
This part is exacting product design, which can be classified into self-rescue product, property protection product, and help rescued product. In emergency, due to damage of power, flashlight cannot be used for a long time, and probably variety item mixing the flood will affect the rescue speed. Therefore, the design direction considers the purpose of protecting person safety and providing rescued method.
Wodonga is located in Victoria and has a subtropical humid climate. The city has abundant rainfall from May to October and is often subject to heavy rains.
So let's move on our map. The pink area we show in this page is the pink air is the flood air, and the red line is evacuation air. The blue line is the house creek. So according to the flooding map, our emergency shelter will build on higher ground outside the area like to be affected by flooding. So we researched the report of local government. The affected area is mostly around the river, and the affected area is nearly 70 kilometers. It's not recommended to rely on any mountain to above landslide caused by heavy rainfall and flooding. So it's relying on the upstream area of water sources to above drinking contaminated water resource downstream.
In Wodonga, the primary plants are wildflowers, mushrooms, ferns, and grass. The main animals that can be found in Wodonga are freshwater fish, insects, birds, and reptiles. In flood disasters, plants can help absorb rainwater. At the same time, it can also purify the pollutants in floods. However, the number of flies has increased due to flooding, which has created suitable breeding conditions for the insects, and these insects can accelerate the spread of viral infections and disease.
In this part, we consider design goals according to the impact of disaster. After flood, in natural damage, a secondary disaster will happen. This impact can be divided into three parts: social, human, and environmental. Based on the analysis of these three parts, potential flood threats including water pollution, the spread of the disease from dead bodies, landslide, and the potential for multi-floods from continuous rainfall. Here we come to the part 3. Multiculturalism in design advocates that people's belief and culture should be placed at the center of the design process. Designers should be capable of addressing cultural diversity in multiple ways of thinking. So we're thinking about the cross-cultural design. The first one, emphasize the mixing of the local culture and consider the cultural need of the different groups in the region, such as the language different. Next one, the purpose of the design is to be inclusive of all people. Consider the need of the people of different age. Next one, In the design process, the detailed design is considered to increase the design feature of the flood scene. Number 4. In addition to consider the physical structure design, it also needs necessary to combine the local cultural history. Number 5. Public space need to ensure different users such as accessible restroom. Number 6. Ensure accessibility such as projects environmental conditions, lighting conditions, geography location. Number 7. Correspond to the state of flooding. Think about the physical structure of the research project. Number 8. Once a space is designed and built, its value must be maintained through a continuous effort. Consider the accessibility of the design and improve resource utilization. Last one. An effective public space should be adapted to its user changing needs. Constantly update the project detail based on disaster outcome by years and years.
Now, I will show you guys some of Wodonga's flood strategies. First of all, there is a community established by the government to be responsible for the flood disasters. It's called Municipal Flood Planning Community, aka MFPC. There are a number of agencies with specific rules that will act in support of MFPC and provide support to the community in the event of a serious flood within the city of Wodonga. The city of Wodonga has a few prevention measures in the face of annual flooding. First, they will exercising the plan at least one time a year, and the flood watchers will minimize the rainfall in flood-prone areas. When a flood occurs, the government have 5 steps to deal with it. Phase 1, they will asking the expert if there is a need to evacuate. Phase 2, the municipal government issued flood warnings through news, radio, television, newspaper, and other ways. Phase 3, organize the evacuation of citizens from the affected areas. Phase 4 is to guide the public to the shelter, and there is an animal shelter to protect the pets and livestock of public. Phase 5 is organize people to return to their homes after the disasters is over. In addition to these steps, the city government has put in place policies and that allow people to apply for anti-pollution materials such as sandbags to protect their home before disaster strikes, and the community to assess the damage and distribution subsides after disasters.
In the flood, these 2 groups of people need people's help most. The poor don't have enough economic capacity to bear the losses caused by floods. Lack of shelter, food, and clothing will seriously threaten their survival. In addition, the elderly and children lack the means to protect themselves when the flood comes.
So let's move on to the negative social impact of flooding. The main issues that arise in the aftermath of flood are destruction of home, loss of properties, loss their life, destruction of families, health issues, and policy issues. In the policy issues also include human rights issues. Australia is a very ethnically diverse country, and racial discriminations accounts for a very large percentage of persistent human rights issues. So next page we move to the chronic issues. Flooding is a natural disaster that affects people in the region all year round. And for the human rights, I found several issues related to the flooding. Is the racial discriminations, human rights violations, inequitable distribution of resource and public health issues. So after the flooding, we need to build a shelter, and in the shelter there might be happened like the racial discrimination and human rights violations. There might happen such like the shelter don't allow people of a particular race to enter. So for our design, we don't allow them to separate the air, and everyone is equal and free. But we will apply the separate air for people who with a special need, such like the pregnant woman, nursing children, or elder people who can't live alone. Emergency center provide first aid to the injured only on the basis of severity of their conditions. After the flood, food and water resource in the affected area will be relatively scarce, and uneven distribution will lead to discontent among the local people. For this problem, water and food will be equally distributed in the shelter, and people with special needs and those who need special care will be given special attendance. The flood is both affect people psychological and physical, so the doctor and the psychologist are provided in the shelter.
About the potential issues, the first one is water pollution. The impact of the flood can wash contaminants such as plastic bottles, mosquitoes, cactuses into agricultural land. This can affect residents' health problems. In addition, floods can destroy residents' homes, leaving large numbers of people homeless. Then I will talk about addressing these issues using stones to build cable trenches. The purpose of this is to slow the flow of water and allow particles to settle in the water. Moreover, about the destruction of building, designers can build temporary shelters for homeless people. About the selection of materials, it is necessary to obtain local materials, use waterproof and economical materials. This can effectively solve the problem of residential housing.